All right, we're now live. The red is on, the timer is ticking, and as I usually do, I will take a large sip of water to commence with the recordings. So this is live Q&A, talking programs across 3 channels. Throat is quenched, and I am prepared with a whiteboard. Yes, it is serious stuff, so do put in your questions. Do ask as many questions as you like with regards to programming. So I'm going to just hide that. Try now. Yes, you can try. So welcome to those that have jumped on, those that are looking at the recording. This is Program Design Talk and a Q&A where I answer questions around anything program related or anything else that you might want to throw in. If you want to be coin. So those kind of wondering what is program design? Well, a piece of paper that's got about 220 different programs. So 220 different programs that, when it's fallen apart, that are pre-designed or worked with our clients. Typical things that we have when we're looking at a program is really what is the goal or the intention of that. So you've got speed and power, so for performance, and that sticks in what's known as a relative strength realms. So you're looking at maximal contraction to be explosive as you can. Now that worked quite well for sprinters, works quite well for powerlifters, and anyone else looking to be a little bit faster. Now, there are 2 people viewing. Hopefully you can comment and I can see it. It will pop up this time. No. So see what happens. And plug that in, we shall. So yeah, that's speed and power. The next one is like typically looking at relative, and that's also relative strength. So speed and power, relative strength kind of fit in the same norm. Probably what would be the difference in the program would be in a speed and power program, you're looking quite fast and explosive, where if you're looking at relative strength, hello Liam, if you're looking at relative strength, you may see the loads being lifted slower, but relative to the body, it's maybe 2 times or 3 times their body weight. Where with speed and power, you're literally looking at as fast as you can generate speed or power with your own body weight. So the stronger you can become, probably the more explosive or fast you can translate that over to your performance. However, there is sort of a caveat where you can get too strong or be too muscular, and that does affect the performance. So it's something to always be cautious of when working with speed and performance athletes. Now, if we then come across, which is more the realms of what everyone really wants, because most people want to be strong, they want to improve their posture, but no one's going to be doing a 1 rep max face pull to really pull their rhomboids back. So the complete opposite of that spectrum would be muscular endurance. So that's the ability to endure for an extended period of time. Oh, hello, Eddie. Cool, comments is working. So when we come to strength, you've got sports performance, being able to be fast and explosive, but at the same time, probably looking at muscular endurance, being able to sustain that intensity for an extended period of time. And this is where I'll argue the fact of people will say, it's better to do higher rep work, it's safer. Well, yeah, that's true, but if you lift weights correctly, then that's also safe. So when we look at that muscular endurance, think of it, if you can lift, and it's typically looking at a 40 to 60% range, which is probably something I should add into this, percentages max, which I'll do next time. So the thing to note is when we're doing, when we're looking at that muscular endurance, we're looking at those postural muscles. How can they work for an extended period of time and maintain our posture, like working at a table or a desk? A lot of the time when we're working, we find the posture goes and those muscles get weaker and we get our bodies into a compromised position. So then that affects our training overall. So relative strength is relative to your body weight. If you can weigh 100 kilos, you can lift two times your body weight, that means you can squat 200 kilos. That's relative to you. Now, if your partner weighs 50 and she lifts 110, or relative strength, she's stronger than you. Haha, females can be stronger than males. Take that. Now, the typical goal that most people want to be working in is looking good naked, but having those nice muscles. Now, those good muscles, boom, there's your bicep. That can also assist in generating force. So the larger the muscle, the cross-sectional fibers. So if we think when we train a muscle, it grows in length and then width. So what happens is we increase the cross-sectional fibers that we build in the muscle. That means there's going to be more contractile properties of that muscle to help in assistance sports performance. So there's that kind of in between where there can be a benefit to being more muscular and bigger, but there will be a point where too much will obviously slow you down and affect performance on the movements. Again, we're talking from gymnastics, soccer, fighting, hapkido, so more from the bodyweight sports. Now, if we're talking bodybuilding, talking powerlifting, big lifting, I would always lose. Haha. Unfortunately, if anyone knows Eddie, check those arms out. And it's live now, Eddie, so it's official. And another sip of water to change topic. So when we're looking at the functional hypertrophy and the hypertrophy range, we're looking at, you can still be doing the relative strengths, back squats, deadlifts, bench press pull-ups, but you probably wouldn't be doing that in the muscular endurance world, because what tends to happen with movements is it can break down, like in a deadlift. So when that technique breaks down, there is a higher risk of injury. So this is why we're going to talk about program design and understanding knowing that there's several things that we can look for. There's a whole bunch of programs that you can select from. And we haven't even touched on structural balance. There's all these things that can happen. What is it, or how do we know what is the right program and what is the best thing to select for someone? And quite honestly, what's the best program for anyone? It's the one that works. There is no one program that is better than another. Like, there's no best program. As much as I like personal preference, like I personally like German volume training, 10 sets of 10, love it. I love the method of linear progression where you'll do 10 sets of 10 for 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks later you'll do 4 by 6 to 8, but you do it across 4 movements instead of 2, and then you go back into 10 sets, which is for 2 to 4 reps or 3 to 5. And you do that for another 4 weeks, and then from there, just adjust accordingly. So that tends to fall around the hypertrophy realm, and then it delves into the functional hypertrophy, and then into the strength, relative strength. So ticking all the boxes, but also by doing the 10 sets, it means that you're practicing the same movement constantly. GBT is the sadist. Yes, I'm a sadist. Or the saddest? My dyslexia has paid off. So it is not Liam says it's the saddest program. Well, that depends how you look at it. So that's just personal preference. I like it, but I could be like, all right, everyone does 10 by 10 GBT, and I'm going to guarantee you some people it's not going to work, and for others it will. But if I go, right, like person number 1, you have an issue with squat technique, and I want you to do 10 by 10, but we're going to keep the load conservative, and we're working on the form. So the 10 sets 10 gets us to practice the movement more. Great, tick the box for that person. They get better at squatting by practicing it more. Person number 2, they want to build muscle. Cool, we're going to do 10 by 10, working closer to failure. And when instead of doing squats and lying hamstring curls, we're going to do leg press with hamstring curls. So the exercise selected has less possibility of possibly harming the person. So that means we can get more time and attention when working through it. Person number 3 wants to improve their posture, and we're going to do front squats, and we're going to do face pulls. So front squats, boom, nice upright posture. Face pulls, get that back even tighter, and that's going to work on that. But it has to have a purpose and a reason. So what is the best program? The one that is properly designed and thought out with, rather than, yeah, here you go, do your program, do 10 by 10. You get 10 by 10 squats and hamstring curls. You get 10 by 10. I've only got one leg. Yes, bubble back squats and hamstring curls for you too. So if that was the program design, then no, it will not be a great choice. So the best program is the one that's thought well for, and is catered to the individual. So that is me summing it up in a nutshell. What is the best program? The one that's thought of and the one that's looked after. So what the hell is that thing behind me? Well, let's pull it up. So this is kind of your cheat sheet. So for those that want to do their own programs and want to cheat and do it all, and honestly, this is pretty serious when I bring out a whiteboard. Now, it's not on the giant whiteboard. It's only because the table that this is on faces this way. If I was to shift the table this way, then it could work, but unfortunately, it doesn't in this room. However, I could play with it and see if I could make it work. Possibilities are endless. So when we're looking at programs themselves, and we're going to discuss that, we've got 4 main areas that we're looking at. So we've got relative strength, functional hypertrophy, and strength endurance. Now, based off these 4, we're going to break them into 2 categories. So we've got neuromuscular, so that's the nervous system. So neural, and muscular. So if you're wanting to work on technique and you want probably a slightly quicker adaptation to the movement, then you're going to work more neuromuscular. So maybe you want to pick up a skill, get better at back squats. And let's think of it this way. If you were to do, say, strength endurance is about 40% of your max. Now, your max is 100 kilos. Now, if you do 90% of that, you can do, say, 3 reps, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then from there, you sit down, watch a video, rest, recover, 2-3 minutes. Now, if you're doing 20 reps for that 100 kilo 1 rep max of 40%, then you're going to be doing 20 reps, down, up, down. So you're still going, which is going to typically take, so the person that does relative strength does 1 to 20 seconds, where the person doing strength endurance can do up to 120 seconds work there. So person number 1 has been resting for 90 seconds, and you've just finished with strength endurance. Now you're going to get 10 to 90 seconds rest, and you got to go again. Person that's working from strength takes 180 seconds, up to 5 minutes rest. So you can get pretty gassed when doing strength endurance, but that's the purpose, is to cause that that challenge, like cause that metabolic stress or that mitochondrial fatigue. Mitochondria is the power cell, and if we fatigue it, the body adapts and makes it better. So that would be great if we wanted to challenge and build muscles, yes. But what happens when you're fatigued? Form breaks down. Then you pick up bad habits, or you work close to failure. So you might do 20 reps, 16 reps, 12 reps. You get pretty gassed out. You're not going to be focusing on, push feet into the ground, turn the thighs out, brace the abs, lock the shoulders down, lats on, big breath, do 1, reset, like 20 reps. You're like, I think it's knees out. And so there's a big breakdown there. Second to that is when working with it, and what I mean by working with it is you're working on the skill. So the thing is, you're going to continue to work this until your form is beautiful. So then when you go to do the strength endurance, you're not having to think about so many things, and that form is just boom, boom, beautiful. So person 1 is in a better position to constantly practice. Person 2 should have the movement perfected, which most of us don't, and we need to practice it more, unfortunately. So yeah, that is something to be conscious of when working. So that's difference kind of neuromuscular. Muscular, you are going to have to fatigue yourself where you're a little gassed. There are people that do neuromuscular work and they still get pretty gassed because they are thinking of everything, but they do get slightly wrong covers, and you do tend to see their strength progression is larger. Now, if you find that if you were to just stay on relative strength, you'll notice strength does tend to progress a little bit faster. Now, if the 1 rep max of strength endurance is 40% and you do a 100 kilo back squat, well, if you get your back squat to 200, your 40% max increases to 80 kilos. So just working on the relative strength can be beneficial to this, but you're then going to have to practice that skill later. Now, I don't know about you, but if you could squat 200 kilos versus 100, 40 kilos, would be a lot easier here, regardless if you're doing 200, regardless of if you could only squat 100 and you practice this a lot more. So there are benefits, pros and cons to that when working with it. So yes, now if you're working, like, I'll just say it out loud, if you're working relative strength, you're looking at 5 to 12 sets or 4 to 8 sets of functional hypertrophy. Like, just zoom it in so you can take a screenshot and reverse it. Like, it's all there. So yeah, so this big gap here, that's the difference between the two. Neuromuscular, muscular, there's a cross, so there is never just like, you're not just working one and not the other. There is always a crossover between it. There's just more neuro adaptation on this one, some muscular, there's more muscular and some neuro adaptation to it. So don't think it is just one and only one. Designing, so the next thing to think about is, so what is the goal? So, you know, with over the hundreds of programs to choose from, which one is the best, like, for yourself? Well, if anyone was to throw themselves out and say, I have a question, this is what I want to ask, then I can use you as a case study. But if I use myself as a case study, well, the thing is, all of these areas, so my goal is to compete in 2022. Now, if we think about it, if we're extremely fatigued, what has a higher probability of an injury? Relative strength, because we're working close, pretty much at 1 rep max. So if there was percentage, it'd be like 100%, 95, 92.5, 90, and it works its way down all the way to 40. And you can look up 1 rep max percentages calculator and can give you that calculations. But when training, the 4 fundamentals are progressive overload, time and attention or control of the movement, full range of movement, and no pain. Now, if we're pushing for attention or control of the movement, full range of movement, and no pain. Now, if we're pushing for a 1 rep max, you do 100 kilos in your max. Well, next week you got to get heavier. Okay, sure. I don't know about you, but there'll get a point where you start to feel anxious and nervous. You're just like, I can't do it. And start to psych yourself out. Like, I'm up to a 440 leg press, and I find that nerve-wracking, and that's for 8 reps. And still I hesitate. So when you're training with the goal my goal is to build as much muscle as possible and strip as much fat. Now, knowing that to drop fat, I'll have to drop calories. Now, if there's less energy in the tank, my ability to maintain form does break down a little bit. So working in this relative strength world, though I could get 5 minutes rest, isn't really ideal, practical for me. So I really do cross it out. It also works an energy system known as the anaerobic alactic system. So that's not going to maximize the burn of blood glucose. Burns a little bit fat, yes, but the thing is, if I'm resting 5 minutes or so, well, there's a lot of time resting and a lot of time working. So it means the workout could take 4 or 5 hours. Where if we now look at the functional hypertrophy and strength endurance, all of these work something, but the thing is, I don't want to overload or stress out the nervous system so much that I'm a potato. Or, you know, pretending to drink water, just thinking. Like when I did my first prep for a photo shoot, I remember there were times where I would be like, yes, we're talking about program design. And I would just have this moment of energy to spurt and I'd start talking. And then I would, okay, you know, that's not ideal when training. Now, if you have lots of energy in the tank and you're looking to do powerlifting, weightlifting, or sports that require that explosive elements, but you do have moments to recover, like in sports teams. You know, one athlete goes as hard as they can for a short period of time, then they back off, another team member takes over. So there are times where everyone works together. But when it's just you, sometimes that doesn't help. But also, I would say when you start to push higher to that 1 rep max, the probability of injuries can increase. Can being the word, not is going to happen. It can. You can always factor it in. There's all possibility to work in that, but I believe if I'm pushing and I'm going to drop calories aggressively over time to lose more weight, then it's going to be safe to work around more the muscular area. Also, this will work the anaerobic system or anaerobic lactic, which is going to mobilize more fats and carbs for energy source. Now, I know about you, but I want to burn more fat, I want to force my body to mobilize fatty acids to use as energy. I'm definitely going to use that, especially with the aerobic system. When you sit in that 50-60% intensity zone, it really just starts to burn fat as an energy source. Well, the goal is fat loss. Makes sense. So if you're like, oh, well, I want to burn fat, should I just do the strength endurance, Karl? You could, but each one of them works something in the body, which is known as different fiber types. So when I want to stimulate those fibers, well, what's going to be the best? Stimulating only one fiber type or all three? And you got type 1, type 2A, type 2B. Now, some more type 1 responds to oxidative stress. So that high rep work, and more metabolic stress or mechanical tension to the type 2A and to the B. So interesting, we've got oxidative stress over here, and we've got more tension over here, plus load. Remember, progressive overload can come in forms of load, time and attention, which is that control, but I can increase that time and attention with more reps, but then that drops the load. So there's a bit of a caveat there. So I have 2 days that work functional hypertrophy, 2 days that work the hypertrophy on it, and then another 2 that works that strength endurance. So I'm ticking all the boxes to maximize growth of each fiber type of muscle when working the programs. Now, the thing to note is that the next thing to understand is that muscle fatigue can be movement and rep specific. So what I mean by that is you could, you do bench press of say 5 reps and you're sore the next day. But when you get on the bench press the next day, and I don't recommend it, you should do it 2 days later at least, but you go on the bench press again, you're like, oh man, I'm sore. But you could probably do 10 reps of 80. Oh, it's so sore and uncomfortable. So this actually allows me to manage muscle damage and fatigue by changing the rep variations, sets, time and attention, and demands on the body. All right? And then I do the strength endurance. So the way the program would look is I'll do, and I will point this out. So when looking to grow that body, you've got body parts. So we got chest, back, we got biceps, we got delts, shoulders, that's more upper back. We got triceps, upper and lower abs. And let's just stay, and I'm not going to stay on upper body because you've all got to train legs, people. So then we got quads, glutes. Don't judge my spelling, people. Just scribbling. These glutes. I know it's glutes, so you should all know it's glutes. If anyone's zooming in, then we have hammies and calves. So these are our typical body parts that we work. Now, I'll start with quads because everyone should train their legs. I'm going to start with chest. I know you all thought that, but we'll start with quads. So if we have a typical bro split, the typical rep range to stimulate growth of a muscle, we're looking at 5 to 10 sets. Now, that's the optimal number that people believe. You can do more. You can do more jump volume. But think of it this way. If we were to do 15 sets on one day and we don't see any more growth in that muscle anymore, then what do? We increase the volume. Great idea. Let's do 20 sets. Cool. Don't see any more growth. Now do 25. Now do 30. So imagine doing 30 sets on quads for 1 day a week. You kidding me? Why? Who's doing that? That's ridiculous. Like 10 sets of 10. I know I'm a sadist doing 10 sets of 10, but 30 sets of 10? You're crazy? Now, if anyone wants to give it a go, let me know. I'm happy to coach you through that and design that program for you, but I will not be doing it myself. So I would rather split it across 3 days. So 10, 10, 10. All right. So if you start, working on quads, you could do quads for 5 sets, 1 day a week. See how you go in 4 weeks' time, 3-4 weeks' time. So yeah, with programs, change them every 4 to 6 weeks. You could push them out for 12 weeks, but we typically do every 4 to 6 weeks. Reason being, people get bored. Like, actually, you can do it for 20 weeks. Like, we should all be able to do the same program for 20 weeks and like squeeze the juice out of it. Problem is, people just get bored of it. So that's why we don't do programs for 20 weeks long. We do it for 4 to 6 weeks. Like 6 weeks, you could do 8. I have done some 8-week programs, but I find most people find 4 to 6 times weeks for a program or a cycle of a program tends to be the sweet spot. So yes, I talked about 20-week programs and someone's already logged off. That's funny. So yeah, when you're designing a program, so to build the quads, well, we've got the list of all the body parts we want to bring up. Well, I want to bring up my chest, I want to bring up my back, I want to bring up my biceps because I want big biceps personally. My delts, yes. My shoulders, yes. Triceps, yes. My abs, nah, they're fine. Quads, no, yeah, I want to bring those up. Glutes, no, my glutes are pretty good. So I got big legs apparently compared to my lower body, so I don't really need to work on growing my lower half except my calves because I want big calves. I want bigger than my quads. So I really want big quads. Now, if George ever listens to this, yes, sir, you have nice quads, but I would like bigger calves, big calves than you. It's just a thing that I want. So yeah. And forearms. So it's just my thing. Don't pick on me. Just let it be. So yeah, big calves. So that means I need to tick the boxes to stimulate growth. So when we are designing for hypertrophy, we look at volume. So we go day 1, 5 sets. Day 2, 5, and 5. So if we look back onto our cheat sheet, we can see that 5 sets, 4 to 8 reps, 6 to 10 reps. 4. Correct. So what that would look like on that other day is that I would split this into maybe 3 and 2, which would be split across 2 exercises. Now, I could do the same thing here with these exercises. So 2 exercises. Now, and the thing is, I wouldn't just do one type of exercise, I'd do 2 types. So this is the next thing we have to think about is that, well, if we're training the bicep, we've got it in a shortened position. So that's where the long head of the bicep touches the shoulder. It's in a shortened state, so it contracts and lengthens. So good looking bicep, yep, in a shortened position, but I'm probably going to lift a lot of load here. But at the same time, we want to build functional hypertrophy. We're also building a bit of strength. So what I'm going to then do is I'm going to put my bicep in a lengthened state where it's behind me and then also do bicep curls. Now, I might even change it to neutral supinated. You can change the angle, but changing the angle of the shoulder, so I create a lengthened bicep, which then improves the health of my shoulder as well. So there's now another layer to think about, which is the position. So position now to think about. So these 5 sets are no longer just going to be, so we tick the box here, tick the box for functional hypertrophy and hypertrophy, but for the strength endurance, we exceeded the 1 to 4 sets on the cheat sheet. So we're going to split it into 2. But if we just done one angle here, we could have possibly maybe compromised the posture. We could have done something that could have led the body that we're working with to be, yes, look better, but maybe affect its posture, shoulder health, postural health, and that's not great. So we start to get into these other layers of the programs. So we're now going to think of the position, and really, if we think about it, we could probably look at 2 to 3 different positions. Now, and that, well, you could even go like 4, because the thing is, I could put my bicep in a shortened position using dumbbells, and then behind me. But the thing is, remember, time under tension. So when we have like a bicep curl, the greatest level of tension is where the lever is longest. But then when it's at the bottom of the movement or at the top of the movement, it's actually easier. So we have this peak tension of the muscle and then a lack of tension on the muscle. Now, the machines that tend to get the greatest amount of tension on the muscle is a cable machine. Now, does that mean everyone should start doing cables all the time? Well, but then that gets boring, Carl. So variation is key. So we could even do a dumbbell curl in front and behind, and then we could do cables like reverse, like again, different angles and hand positions doing reverse cable curl. So now we could actually work bicep at 3 different positions, and we're also working it from the forearm attachment in a shortened and lengthened state as well. So just by now training that bicep, we're able to probably do 3 exercises, and we could do 2, 2, 2 of each of those positions, and now we're creating 6 sets. So now this program on biceps has a total of 18 sets on the bicep per week to stimulate hypertrophy. It falls in that 5 to 10 bracket. It ticks all boxes for sets. Obviously, we'll insert the rep ranges. And so therefore, creating a ideal program that works all 3 fiber types. And that is what I work with currently at the moment. Now, personally, I'm not doing the 3 exercises. I'm doing a spider curl, fat grips, force the forearms to work, so it's in a lengthened state in front of me. And then I do a reverse cable curl for the biceps. But then what I'm doing is working more lengthened and stretch positions with dumbbells and for rows or back exercises. So it does put the bicep into a lengthened stretch position. So yes, that is programs for me. So wrapping it up, there is no perfect program, as much as some of you would have enjoyed to see. When looking at a program, there are 4 things to look at: relative strength, functional hypertrophy, strength, endurance. Relative strength and strength endurance can work hand in hand. Strength endurance, everyone should work a little bit of it to improve their posture, work their rhomboids, pulls, neck. It's probably the one of the most underrated exercise because most people don't like it. But you work your neck in a lengthened state, it will improve shoulder health and strength. Because the thing is, if everyone try it, give it a go, push shoulders as far as you can, and your shoulders in a compromised state. But if you get a friend to push down on your arm, you're gonna find you're not as strong. If you get your shoulders back, get that head nice and lengthened, and then they push your arm, you'll find you're a lot stronger. Because by pushing that head back, that promotes posture to open up, that then allows your shoulders to sit back in their pockets, and you're then in a stronger position. So working on your neck has a positive effect on improving strength. So that's what we should be doing, especially when we're benching. Boom, need that head to push back in the bench. Pull-ups could pull that head back to help promote that chest. So really, everyone should be working on that neck, but they don't. They work on their computers. So yes, that is something to insert into working strength endurance, and the devices for them look gorgeous. Now, when working on relative strength, you're looking at 1 to 5 reps, 5 to 12 sets. Rest and recovery is about 3 minutes or more. Your time and attention per the rep range is probably about 1 to 20 seconds. So maybe 3 seconds down, controlling and up. For functional hypertrophy, working 6 to 10 reps, 4 to 8 sets, possibly 10 if you're doing the GVT and you're loving it. The rest is about 120 to 180 seconds, and your time and attention is 20 to 50 seconds. Now, time and attention can go is the form of speed you use. Typically, when you're contracting, it is an explosive and strong contraction, and then the lengthening phase is the eccentric phase. That is where you're strengthening ligaments and tendons, creating that stretch effect on that muscle. It can be anywhere to 2 seconds, to 3, to 4, to 5, as long as you like. But when you're training, you should be able to stop at any point in time with control to make sure that the load isn't too heavy. So with tempo, 3, 0, 1, 0, so 3 down, 1 up, 3 down, 1 up is the sweet spot to work with. You can add pauses in there to challenge your strength a little bit if you like. Then if you're working hypertrophy, you're working 8 to 15, 3 to 5 sets, 40 to 90 seconds, with time and attention of 40 to 90 seconds as well. Easy one to remember. Then strength endurance, you're doing 15 reps plus. Yes, you can do 100 reps if you like. I do love doing that one on the leg press, but it's brutal. Then 1 to 4 sets, 10 to 90 seconds, have rest, and time and attention is 50 seconds plus up to 120. And 1 to 4 sets, 10 to 90 seconds, have rest, and time and attention is 50 seconds plus up to 120. Now, if you were to say, whoa, Karl, what the hell did you just talk about? Can you just simplify that for me? Yes, And then I'm out of paper. Awesome. So if you were to go, all right, I want to do a program, I want to tick all the boxes and I want to progress week in, week out, here's what you do. Pick 2 exercises per body part. I'm behind, I'm in front, so this, you just do this. What's the exercise I can do for this? And then triceps, yep. Biceps behind, triceps, dips, chest, rows, pull-ups, shoulder press. Make sure you can extend. If you can't extend your chest, get your arm along through and do an incline press. And those 2 variations, legs like squat, walking lunges, quad extensions, hamstring curls, and 45-degree back extension. Pick those exercises and then write them all on a piece of paper. And you go 1 to 4. Start with 3 sets. Do 20 reps for all of them. I'm bringing it closer. 20 reps for all of them. I'm bringing it closer. Then 5 to 8. You go 15 reps. 9 to 12. 10 reps, but now do 4 sets. 13 to 16, another 4 weeks. Okay, 8 reps, 4 sets. 17 to 20, now do 5 reps, 5 sets. And what you do is you'll rest. We'll go from 60 seconds to 75 to 90 to 100 to 150. Then you'll do 5. Then I'm 21. So go 7 times 3 with 3 minutes rest. Those exercises, except for the arm exercises, you could, and then just do like 2 seconds up, 8 seconds down. So for like the smaller exercises, do longer time and attentions, if you can. And so therefore, that gives you a full 24 weeks of programs. And what you're doing here is you're starting with a higher rep range. You'll have a specific load in practice form. And then what's going to happen is you're going to steadily find the weights increase. When you hit a plateau, you're just going to drop the reps, increase the sets, increase your rest, and your loads should continue to progress upwards. So that is a quick cheat sheet on a program that will help with strength, hypertrophy, functional hypertrophy, and strength and endurance. So enjoy that one. So if you enjoyed, that is programs. Remember, there's no perfect program. However, there is a perfect reason for each program. So I hope that helps. If you're like, I don't know what to do, there's a cheat. However, if you're like me, look up German volume training or email us or DM us, and I will personally send you the initial phase of a German volume training program that I used way back in the day to put on some muscle and build some strength. Adios, amigos, and enjoy. Make sure to drink water. Provided to you by Taps.